Welcome everyone to another talk as part of CPL Mastery Conference. Joining us now is Heather Friedland, the Chief Product Officer at Ancestry. Heather brings over 2 decades of experience in product management. She's held executive roles at leading tech companies like eBay, Glassdoor, and Microsoft, where she launched the pivotal product, MSN Calendar. Heather is an expert in product vision, product growth, and strategy, and she was named one of the Women of Influence for Silicon Valley Business Journal. Heather's talk today will focus on the themes of operationalizing product vision, and we'll dig into themes of product growth, customer insight, and we'll end with some advice for product managers. Heather, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thanks, Mo. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. I'd love to kick this off by learning a little bit about your background and your role at Ancestry. How long have you been in this role, and what were you doing prior to this?
Yeah, so like you summarized, I have been at Ancestry now for 2+ years, most recently in the role of Chief Product Officer. Prior to Ancestry, I have spent over 2 decades, mostly in consumer-facing tech, also in roles that kind of dovetailed with B2B or B2B2C technology as well, but all around the space of delivering value to end consumers. And that's really what I found gets me excited to get to work every single day. It's being able to live, eat, and breathe the products that I like to build and improve.
Awesome, that's great. Our next set of questions are going to be around Ancestry's product growth and innovation. So Ancestry was founded more than 30 years ago as a family history company and has grown into the global leader in family history in consumer genomics. Can you tell us a little bit about Ancestry's journey and evolution?
Yeah, to think about Ancestry's journey, you need to go back into the Wayback Machine, because before Ancestry, family history research was really cumbersome and really time consuming, almost inaccessible, really. Research required visits in person to local historical societies, churches, or even government buildings, where a lot of the records that are now available in Ancestry were kept. Finding one document could have taken months, if it was even accessible at all to people in the community. So by digitizing billions of historical records and offering an easy to use search index and platform, Ancestry has really made family history research accessible to millions of people around the world. In 2012, we added Ancestry DNA to our suite and portfolio of products, and that really allowed us to help gain a whole new level of understanding on behalf of our customers, for them to discover more about themselves and to connect with one another and the world around them, and to really understand relationships and identity in a whole new way. Delivering innovative experiences and cutting edge science continues to be a priority for us now more than ever, as consumer expectations and interests also shift around people wanting to discover more about their history, who they're from, and where they're from. So really our focus is that we just want to provide the best historical content, the most, unique products and services that will really make it easy for people on our platform, including younger generations, to discover who and where they're from.
So that's a pretty compelling vision. And how are you operationalizing this vision?
So from an operational perspective, we're focused on continuing to innovate for our current subscribers and deliver new experiences for millions of people who are interested in learning more about their family. We've traditionally focused on delivering historical content. So what does that mean? It's things like census records, newspaper articles, military draft cards, documents that really kind of recorded somebody's existence in the world. And these are the artifacts or the pieces of history that have helped people discover their family history. Looking ahead, we're going to look to introduce new features for people to add their own family stories and to kind of append and extend our platform with photographs and other historical records that maybe are just sitting in a shoebox in their closet, so they can share them and enjoy them with other family members on the platform. Family history research is often kind of a solo endeavor. And so really key to our success is going to be opening the aperture and enabling people to kind of share, collaborate, and really bring people together to enable them to connect like no other platform can. So that kind of dynamic social experience you can imagine from that, you can envision that starting to take life here at Ancestry.
Awesome. So as you're evolving to deliver products for everyone, what role does diversity and inclusion play into your product vision?
I mean, diversity is so important at Ancestry. This product is so personal to someone's identity. Every day on Ancestry, people are finding long lost relatives. They're connecting with biological members of their family. They're finding out things about themselves, even as adoptees or, in different scenarios where they had no other place to turn but to our platform to really understand more about their heritage and their identity of self. So it's really important for our employees to come from all different kinds of backgrounds and families to really best represent the customers that we serve every single day. So regardless of family dynamics, whether that's race, ethnicity, heritage, the language you speak, we want everyone to be able to see themselves and their family represented well in our products. And that's why we're focused on building more inclusive experiences for all families.
Awesome. Now, the next set of questions are on leveraging the enormous amount of customer insights that Ancestry has. So, given the number of product teams and the volume of customer insights collected, could you share a little bit about how you build a culture of customer research to prioritize these insights into the product?
Yeah, I mean, in my past working at other companies, I've definitely started to create a playbook of how a team across product analytics, design, research can really start to come together to better articulate the needs of customers through the insights that can be collected. And so I've kind of created like a mini playbook that maybe I'll share with you. The first one is just to think about how are you going to measure success of the customer experience. And there are typically two different kinds of customer focused metrics you'll often hear about in product. You'll hear people talk about NPS or Net Promoter Score. And you'll also hear sometimes people talk about customer satisfaction or CSAT. I have a lot of opinions about which metric to choose, and a lot of that's based on my own personal experience trying to move each of these metrics in different roles throughout my career and in different products throughout my career. I really like to use CSAT. It is typically collected as feedback in the midst of somebody experiencing your actual product. And so it's a much closer measurement to their impression at that point in time. And I think gets you really much closer to the heart of what the customer is truly experiencing. So using a metric like CSAT, typically measured on a scale from 1 to 5, can help you better articulate the impact and the impression that your product's having at the moment in time that somebody's actually interacting with it. Once you pick that metric, it's really important to start to learn your way into it, to try and socialize as much research as possible, enabling it to be accessible to anybody in the organization, and to create a mechanism where you're starting to then go into my next phase, which is kind of reviewing and analyzing those insights together, whether that's weekly meetings, Slack channels where all the recent research is published, debated, and discussed amongst the team. As a leader, I think you can have a large role here to really set the example by carving out time, space, and communication channels where people can rely on the ability for the information to be published, available, and debated and discussed so people can all take away the same insights together. And that part of the process I like to call kind of democratizing the data, learning your way into the data. But I think it's a really critical step to people internalizing and understanding the needs of the customer. And then finally, it's around action. It's great to learn, it's great to measure, but what are you going to do with your insights? And really, I think this is where it's critical to figure out how you make the customer research accessible, approachable, and scalable in an everyday context. So training the team so they understand that they can ask questions and that they understand how they can speak to customers themselves is a really critical piece of the story. I've worked with many PMs before who have said to me, I'm nervous about calling a customer, or I don't know how to do that. I work with a researcher who knows how to do that. Today, there are so many phenomenal and inexpensive tools. There's also just the telephone or Zoom that enable you to have a conversation with a customer. And one of the critical steps to really acting on the research is making sure that people feel comfortable talking to customers themselves and getting at the facts and the bits and the pieces of the story that are really going to help them think about the needs of the customer in a richer way than average. I think the second one is to figure out how do you prioritize where you're going to spend your time and your effort and your resources. So, there are times when it makes sense to bring in a professional researcher to help you act on that data and to learn more about that customer. There are also times when I think it's better off just pick up the phone and call a dozen people and you'll figure out the answer to your question really quickly. And so I think the key here is to have a diverse set of tools and methods for listening to customers, dashboards and internal channels where it's all available, and to use these together to make sure that they're being used in the right ways through product reviews and other forums to really inform the right solutions and takeaways.
That makes a lot of sense. So getting alignment across the entire product team is a challenging task, and especially when you have many teams at Ancestry. Do you have any advice for product leaders to effectively gain alignment so that everyone is moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I think it really starts at the top level. What's the company objectives? What's the business strategy overall? And what are you trying to achieve as an organization in receipt of that strategy? That needs to tie to a product strategy, where you can start setting some metrics to measure success and outcomes of what things should look like a year from now, 3 years from now, as you set out to start mapping out a roadmap of bets and levers you can pull to start to move yourself towards delivering on that overall product and business strategy. But I think the key is to really figure out the top level, what are we trying to drive towards? Use data to start driving decision making and prioritization, and then use that data and refer back to it to help guide yourself through alignment conversations along the journey. I guess the last step is, how do you manage that on a day-to-day, week-to-week, and quarter-to-quarter basis? You need to have processes in place where the team is constantly working together towards the next smart set of objectives and checking themselves on progress. Whether that's a quarterly basis, I think every company is kind of different. I typically like to look at things quarterly because I think that kind of ties neatly to how you can divide up the work over time as you think about the engineering work and then the impact to the business. But various companies have different methods here. I think it's not about the cadence, it's about having those moments to come together and review progress, both post-morteming and then pre-morteming, looking ahead to see what is it that we need to do next based on what we've learned behind. And it's the combination of those conversations, plus always keeping in mind that North Star set of metrics that you're looking to drive towards, that really is the great unifying factor around alignment.
Awesome. And for our very last question, Ancestry, I'm sure, is hiring a lot of PMs. And from the product leaders that you hire and product managers that you hire, what sets apart the strongest PMs from the rest?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's like the heart of the issue, isn't it? When I think about what really sets apart strong PMs wear a lot of different hats, from being the CEO of their product and understanding the business and the metrics and the performance of it, to the relationship manager, a negotiator, project manager, somebody who's going to be super influential within the organization to kind of lead and help make sure that the work we're doing is the right work at the right time. And it's a real jack of all trades role. I would say what I look for is somebody who can be both an influential leader and a hands-on practitioner. It means finding the right combination of leadership, creative problem solving, and customer empathy, as well as some element of data-based thinking, where people are willing to make decisions based on data and insights, whether those are insights that come from within, they may be qualitative or quantitative, or if they come from the outside, where you're really listening hard to your team to really identify the right solutions for the problems you're trying to solve. But that natural innate curiosity, that ability to really tie what the customer needs are back to the right product solutions, is super hard to hire for. And I would say over the course of my career, I've definitely tried to refine it down to the short set of things. And so my philosophy here is kind of like customer obsession, data-driven thinking, creative problem solving, strong motivation, like a real winning mindset that needs to come from within, as well as great ability to listen and lead others. And I think the winning combination of a strong PM will show attributes of all these different skills, perhaps alongside other specific things we're trying to hire for from an experience perspective.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Heather, for taking the time to share your knowledge and insights with us today. Your advice around product growth, innovation, and what makes a good PM and a product leader are top of mind for product managers and leaders that I speak with. So thank you for your insightful talk. Folks, please take the opportunity to give Heather a big virtual round of applause.
Thank you.
And we'll be back for additional talks, so don't go anywhere. Thank you, everyone.